had decided to do away with the currency notes of 500 and 1000 rupees, and we have with us the Finance Minister of India, Mr. Arun Jaitley, to talk exclusively to DD News. Thank you very much, sir. First of all, why this decision, why this timing? Can you please explain the rationale behind this?
No, I think this decision was long overdue. And earlier in the year, the Prime Minister had taken a decision that this path-breaking decision had to be taken. And it had to be taken because it has various advantages. It impacts on the lifestyle and the spending habits of every Indian. India has to accept that as we graduate more and more into a developed economy, you can't work on a premise that everybody has a fundamental right to deal in black money. Black money then has its own consequences. It not only leads to tax evasion, it operates parallel to the banking system. A lot of money goes into crime, into drugs, into terrorism, into counterfeit currency. And therefore, this decision had to be taken. But then there is a pain involved in this decision. The transformation itself is a pain. And therefore, a lot of preparation is required, particularly with regard to availability of the replacement currency. And the replacement currency takes a lot of time to be readied. And I think the success of this decision of the Prime Minister was that the secrecy required for this decision was maintained. You had huge amount of replacement currency printed, distributed throughout the country's banking system, and yet we could maintain the secrecy of the decision making. Today, the positive impact of this will be that more and more transactions will come into the banking system. The banks themselves will have a lot more funds. More and more transactions will become digital. More and more transactions will become liable for both direct and indirect taxes. So your direct incomes will be disclosed, your indirect taxes, the revenues of the states will improve in the long run, as it happens in most developed economies. And India will become more tax compliant society. Who will suffer? Those who have either accumulated black money or crime money or bribe money. So I think those who've got legitimately small amounts of cash with them, withdrawn from bank or savings or housewife savings or farmer's income, have nothing to worry. All they have to go and deposit the money in the bank. It's their legitimate money. Initial 2 weeks, we are replacing cash for cash on a smaller basis, but as more currency comes in over the next 4 to 6 weeks, the replacement currency will be fully there. The process starts tomorrow at the banks itself. And you can go and replace your currencies also. There is no difficulty. But if your sources are illegitimate, if it's crime money or corruption money, then how do you go and disclose it? So those are the ones who are going to suffer. And I have maintained since yesterday, this is the first time that Government of India has taken a decision where an honest Indian says that I am proud and I am safe because I am honest. So there is a premium now this decision has created on honesty, and there is a disincentive that it has created on dishonesty and tax evasion. Therefore, I think the ethics that is required as a matter of public policy has been adequately brought about by this decision. So this decision has many, many positive advantages. A parallel economy has huge dangerous consequences. And in one stroke, the Prime Minister has made sure that India starts moving away from that. There are obviously some inconveniences for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, but those temporary inconveniences can't be an alibi or a rationale that India must continue to live through black money. And I would urge my friends in the opposition in particular to take a very responsible, holistic view of this, that the advantages of this are too many. And therefore, we have to stand on the side of ethics and on the side of correctness.
Considered and conscious view that you'll have to give just a window of just 4 hours?
Because if you had given longer windows, knowing how people have learned the art of evasion, they would have found methodologies of evasion, of converting this money into some precious metal or otherwise. And therefore, suddenness, surprise and secrecy are the essential features of a decision of this kind.
To help country move towards the cashless economy, can we say that we actually are going to promote the cashless economy in the days to come?
This is not a nudge. This is not a nudge. It's a big step. It's a big step in that direction of taking India cashless. And therefore, the new generation is moving cashless. And I think old people have to get out of that habit, also move towards that. And I think slowly, more and more people will get into the digital mode.
Idea is linked to the circulation of money into the system. What are the impact and possible impacts on the growth prospects as well as the inflation numbers?
You see, I think it brings in ethics into expenditure. It changes the lifestyles. It brings more and more transactions into the banking system. It increases the level of deposits and monies available with the banks. Their lending abilities will go up. It brings more and more transactions into the taxation net. Therefore, both your direct and indirect taxes move up. And therefore, parallel economy, reducing the size of our GDP, itself will narrow down far more. And therefore, its overall impact on growth would be far more, because the size of the economy itself, the size of the formal economy itself will...
Looking at the GST, which is into the offing, do you think that this will have a balancing impact on the inflation scenario?
I think these are complementary actions. GST is a more efficient tax system, and therefore it leads to checking of evasion and the other allied actions, and therefore it leads to larger collections. This is a parallel step, a different step, but which also achieves the same objects. And therefore, the multiplier effect of both these actions is going to be significant.
There are problems to how women in the households and farmers and people in the remote areas.
There will be some transient problems. The transient problems are related only to one factor. We will tomorrow morning introduce a lot of replacement currency through the banking system and the post offices. Therefore, people can start replacing. You can deposit as much money into your bank, but it's not an immunity scheme. You'll have to eventually be answerable to somebody where the money came from. But housewives who have small amounts of savings, or farmers who have tax exempted income from farm, have nothing to worry. Or people who have withdrawn money from banks or have legitimate incomes themselves which they can explain, have nothing to worry. But if you have illegal money, then you may have to give the source. And if you have crime money, then you are in serious trouble. Now, these are the different kinds of factors. But I don't think any farmer or housewife have anything to worry. If a housewife has some small legitimate savings with her, which are within the exemption limit, all that she has to do is to go to the bank and either exchange it or deposit the money in the bank. She has nothing to worry at all.
What is the impact on the, if I may ask you, what are the possible political connotations? Because people from the political parties are also...
I think parties are calculated. I wish political parties, some of them at least some have overwhelmingly supported it. Some have been critical because I don't think they've understood the whole thing. One political party came up and a national party said, oh, in the wedding season, how will you give a shagan? Where is it written that shagan will be only in cash, it can't be in check? In a changed economy, you have to change your attitudes also. Where is it written that hospital bill must only be paid in cash and not in check? Or a school fees must only be paid in cash and not in check? After all, these are all facilities which are, banking is a facility which is available to every citizen in India, and after the Jan Dhan account, everybody has an account. The only political impact I wish this decision has is that it cleans up the process of political funding also. Some political funding has started by check, and if this decision can take a further step of cleansing political funding, I think this will be a great step forward.
C note of 2000 denomination.
You see, you had to have a replacement currency. So a 500 and a 1000 has been replaced by 500 and 2000. The Reserve Bank board thought it appropriate that this is the currency required because that's the present expenditure levels which are required. It should be easy to handle also.
This is a big step, and do you see it as a reform in the economic?
I see it as a very major step, a very bold step. Not many political leaders would have had the courage to take this step. The Prime Minister, when he decided that this issue has to be forced, I think displayed a lot of conviction behind this, and I think it's transformative. It's transformative in terms of the banking system, in terms of expenditure habits, in terms of taxation system, and I think this is one decision which has the maximum impact on the day-to-day life.
Minister, for talking to DD News, and we hope that people do not have to wait for the budget for the surprises. It can come any day and any time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Of interview of Finance Minister Arun Jaitley with DD News, wherein he talked of the impact and how efficiently it will help in the growth of the economy. When we talk of the 500 and 1,000 rupees notes denomination have been seized to be legal tender. Finance Minister explaining what would be the fallout and how farmers and housewives with small legitimate savings will not have much of an impact on that, and they can just go and exchange, but it will be a big game changer in the sense that it will help in cleansing the system ahead.